Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm recording this on September 25th. Uh, we had the we have a lot of activity this week dealing with the UN. There was the General Assembly and the major speeches from the different heads of state speaking yesterday. There didn't seem to be a major kinetic event that took place last night or during the day yesterday. My overall assessment with what happened yesterday versus my feelings that were starting to develop over the last 4 months or so about September 24th, 2024, I would say that I'm concerned about the speech by Jordan, by King Jordan, um, King Abdullah from Jordan, and the rhetoric that he mentioned at the UN. Now, maybe that becomes the kind of the inflection point of a larger conflict in the Middle East, because I don't feel as though he really focused on attacking the terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, and was too focused on some sort of two-state solution. Now, I understand why he said that, why King Abdullah said this, because they don't want this kind of refugee issue to boil over their border into Jordan. All right, so I think his speech was really not so much for the Palestinians. I think the speech was really for stability in his own country. So I sense that perhaps some instability will take place in his country that leads to a further conflict. Now, again, I think the borders are gonna go back to biblical border system that's been described in the Torah or in the Bible, but there wasn't really a major event that took place. So I suspect that it's some sort of very, on the surface, some sort of benign thing that would create kind of a snowball effect. So it's hard to see what it is, but I still feel it's something, even though it's not in the news, like boom, it's so obvious. It feels like something is developing and that flashpoint was September 24th. So, you know, and I feel that something happened at the UN that creates a snowball effect, and we don't understand the perniciousness of it yet. We'll understand it in the future. I don't in maybe a few months, a few years, I don't know, but few weeks, few days, who knows? But I I wasn't able to really pinpoint that is the thing that I was looking for September 24th. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'm going to play a little bit of an update of what's going on in the Middle East. But before I do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver liquids. I have it in max 35, max 14, also in this advanced alkaline structured product. The max 35 is 35 ppms, the max 14 is 14 ppms, and this one's 35 ppms. So please go to the store and get the structural nano silver liquid. You take a teaspoon a day, you swish it in your mouth, you gargle with it 20 seconds or so, and then swallow. What it does is it neutralizes pathogens, improves your oral hygiene, and maintains that mucosal barrier, so you're preventing infection. This is really important to do, especially during the cold season. So you should be doing that every day with a teaspoon. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or two a day. Okay. I take this every day, teaspoon, gargle, 20 seconds or so, swish it in your mouth, and then swallow every day for 4 years. So or more than 4 years. So what I'd like to also go over is I have lozenges and drops, all right? It's really important to take these lozenges or drops the moment you feel an irritation. The reason being is these drops and lozenges have structural nanosilver, which will neutralize pathogens, and the secretions will help to maintain the mucosal barrier in your mouth and in the back of your throat. That's really important to, by maintaining that mucosal barrier, you're reducing the chances of getting, a further infection. You got to do it right away. The moment you start feeling the irritation, start taking the lozenges or the drops. So get a couple bags for your household. We're in the cold season now in the United States, and it's better to be prepared than sorry. So get the Manuka honey, 21 count. I also have 3 flavors of drops. I have the honey and lemon drops, cherry, which is a new flavor that I have on my store, and blueberry. The drops are in a 100 count. The lozenges are in a 21 count. Get a couple bags for your household. You're going to need them for the cold season. The moment you have that irritation, take the drops or lozenges. It'll neutralize the pathogen and it'll create the secretions that you need to maintain the mucosal barrier to protect your epithelial lining. Really important. Okay. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. Lastly, I have structural nanosilver soaps. I have different varieties. The ones that I have in my hand are lemongrass, and I also have, this one is charcoal tea tree. Okay, so please go to the store. I have 5 different varieties of structural nanosilver soaps. Very high quality. It'll neutralize pathogens. It's way better than Dove. So please go to my store, help support my work, and improve your health. Get a couple bars for your household. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the BBC based on their coverage of Hezbollah firing missiles into Israel. I believe it's Tel Aviv.
Middle East, where Israel says air defense systems have intercepted a Hezbollah missile in Tel Aviv. Let's take you to the live shot, which shows the city. Warning sirens have been sounding in the last few hours there. Hezbollah says it launched a rocket targeting the Mossad headquarters in what seems to be the first time Hezbollah has targeted the city. Hezbollah said Mossad headquarters, which is the Israeli Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, is responsible for the assassination of senior Hezbollah leaders and for blowing up pages and wireless devices. Well, Tel Aviv is more than 200 kilometres away from the Lebanon border. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has delayed his departure to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Well, let's now show you these images. Now, these were taken on someone's phone out of their window. It shows the missile just after it was intercepted by Israeli air defense systems. Well, the Israeli military said they intercepted it after it was detected crossing from Lebanon. All of this comes as Israel and Hezbollah continue to exchange heavy cross-border fire overnight, defying calls from world leaders to immediately de-escalate. The Lebanese government's called on America for help to end a wave of Israeli assaults, the deadliest bombardment the country has seen in decades. While health authorities there say 569 people, including many children, have been killed since Monday. Hezbollah continues to launch rockets in the other direction. The purple dots on this map here show where those rockets landed. Israel's airstrikes within Lebanon are marked here too, in red. Well, let's go straight to our Middle East correspondent, Yolande Nell, who joins us live from Jerusalem. What reaction have you had where you are to this strike, which was targeting Tel Aviv?
I mean, it's really been a reaction from Tel Aviv where people were sent into a panic. They had to rush to their bomb shelters as these rocket warning sirens went off. And it's known that Hezbollah does have these longer range rockets, but up to now it hadn't used them to target the center of the country. So this is being seen as an escalation. At the same time, it was a single rocket that was fired, and Hezbollah would know very well that Israel does have this sophisticated, multi-layered air defense system. So this rocket was intercepted without causing any casualties, without causing any damage. We've had a briefing from the Israeli military that's confirmed this was the furthest that a rocket fired by Hezbollah has ever penetrated inside Israel. But at the same time, they're saying this was a heavy warhead and it could have gone even further into Israeli territory. They're denying that this would have hit Mossad headquarters, saying that it was a civilian area that came under attack. And they're also saying that it was fired from quite deep inside Lebanon, not close to the border, and they say they've already hit the launch site.
Okay, Yolande now, thank you.
In construction, you keep complex projects in check, managing mountains of documents in the field, plus staying on top of permits.
Okay, Yolande now, thank you very much. Let's take you back to the scene live in Tel Aviv. Just, the live scene in Beirut. Apologies, pictures there of Beirut. And of course, this all comes as we have seen Israeli strikes targeting the city in the last few days. The Lebanese Health Ministry saying that more than 560 people, including 50 children, have been killed in those Israeli strikes. And of course, this morning, we're also reporting that missile which was sent by Hezbollah towards Tel Aviv, intercepted by Israeli air defences. Well, let's go straight to Beirut. You can see the shot there, but let's now speak to Michael Doueihi. He's a member of the Lebanese Parliament for the Change Movement. Welcome to BBC News. What is an incredibly busy time for you, I am sure. We've been hearing that the Lebanese government is calling on the US to do more to try and de-escalate. What exactly is the government asking the US to do in specific terms?
I think the government is first of all, thank you for having me. I think the government is in a very delicate place because this government we have today is not neutral in the sense that it is pro Hezbollah. What we need to do immediately is to have a ceasefire, and that is immediate, because obviously this war cannot continue like that. A lot of civilians are dying, the atrocities are unbelievable, and we need to stop this war. We need a ceasefire immediately, and because we need that, and this is the most important thing, we need the implementation of the 1701. There is a UN resolution because it calls for all parties to ceasefire and to implement it. The most important thing for us as member of parliament today is to elect a president, because we need to go back to the institutions. We don't today. Lebanon is going through a war, obviously, but at the same time, we don't have a president. We have a caretaker government that has taken the vote of confidence from the previous government. So we are in a big, massive constitutional mess. So we need to get back that line back on track, in the sense that electing a president, forming a new government that will negotiate a ceasefire and implement the 1701 and end this war. This is an urgent thing. This is the most important thing we have to do now.
Can I just pick up on something you said in that first answer? You're accusing the Lebanese government of being pro-Hezbollah, but I mean, they've distanced themselves from Hezbollah.
I mean, they have no legitimacy. I mean, we're gonna back them if we have to, because this is the only government we have. But again, they have no political legitimacy. They don't represent the current political movement in the parliament we have today. So we probably have no choice but to back them, pending they do the right thing. This is the most important thing right now. So this is why we have fought as not only as Change Movement MP, but also as a wider opposition.
This is why I was saying yesterday in my video that Esau, the soul root of Esau, is going to be fractured, and we're going to be seeing the fracturing of this year. The moment the shofar blows on Rosh Hashanah, all right, you're going to start seeing the slow fracturing of Esau, and it's what I call positive Esau and negative Esau. Positive Esau will align with Jacob and Ishmael. Negative Esau will be killed. And you're starting to see it in the rhetoric with, talking heads, elected officials. You're seeing it you're starting to see it emerge of what I'm saying about positive Esau and negative Esau.
Speaker of the House to call for a session so that we, Lebanese representatives in Parliament, we together we design a way out from this war. We need the backing of all the Lebanese people to end this war. Not the government cannot do it alone. Hezbollah obviously cannot do it alone. We need to go back to the institution. This is the right calling. This is the absolute right move to make today, to go back to the institutions. If we cannot elect a president ASAP, we have to go back to Parliament. This is the only legitimate institution we have today to back the government to end the war. We need a ceasefire ASAP. Lebanon cannot afford to have this war anymore. Lebanon is a shopping.
I just want to come in and ask you one more question because unfortunately we don't have too much longer with you.
Sure.
I guess some people watching this interview might say that now perhaps isn't the time to be having political infighting within the Lebanese government, and actually for all the different views in Parliament to come together at a time of crisis for the country, not just in terms of the ongoing security situation, but economically as well.
Exactly. We need economic reform. We need a reconstruction design plan. Lebanon is in need of so many reforms, but at the moment we need to stop the war, to have a ceasefire. But this government is not really legitimate, right? It's a caretaker government. We need, in case we cannot have elected president and a new government, a new sort of emergency government, right? We have to go back to Parliament to back this government, although we don't like it, because we need that. The priority now is to stop the war, to have a ceasefire. This is why we have called the Speaker of the House to call for a session so that we can actually give this government sort of a roadmap to end the war through negotiation. We need all the international community, the regional player, to help Lebanon avoid and stop this war. This is a crucial thing. This is the most important thing. This is the message today, right?
Okay,
Going back to the institution to save the country. Thanks.
Michelle Douaili, thank you very much. Sorry to stop you there, we ran out of time, but do appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts from your perspective there in Beirut. Well, let's stay in Beirut and let's go now to my colleague, our Middle East correspondent based in Beirut, Hugo Bashega. Hugo, first of all, just listening to that interview, where is the Lebanese government's thinking and posturing at the moment? We know that they're asking for more American help.
Toronto would not be Toronto without the artists.
If somebody pours into you and then in turn like you're making something that like is better.
Yeah, they are in a very difficult position because Hezbollah is this powerful militia, but also political movement supported by Iran that acts as a state within the state. But it has, representation in parliament. It is part of the government, and the government has very little say over what Hezbollah does. And we're seeing now that a lot of people who oppose Hezbollah, who are critics of Hezbollah, they be saying that these attacks by Hezbollah are dragging Lebanon into a conflict that is not in the country's interest. And so this is obviously a very difficult position for the government. And don't forget that Lebanon has been struggling for years from an economic crisis, from the explosion of the port here in Beirut in 2020, a political crisis as well. There hasn't been a president for almost 2 years because of these political divisions. So obviously, very difficult situation for the Lebanese authorities, and we're seeing now that they are urging the United States to get involved and to try to de-escalate the situation here. I think it was very interesting that the Lebanese foreign minister, who is in New York, he urged the Biden administration to urge a de-escalation in these hostilities, saying that Washington has the key for the country's survival.
Yeah, and what's interesting as well is you hearing the Lebanese foreign minister and other government officials calling on the US to do more, Hugo, but then you hear from others, including the Israelis, calling on the Lebanese government to do more to control, in their mind, these strikes from Hezbollah.
Exactly. And again, I mean, as we've been saying since these attacks by Hezbollah started almost a year ago, this is a group that is in many ways much more powerful than the Lebanese army. They have, a huge arsenal of weapons with tens of thousands of rockets and missiles, including precision-guided missiles that can strike deep inside Israel. And they have their own strategy, they have their own goals. They say that they are supporting Palestinians in Gaza with these attacks, and they have been defiant. They say that despite these attacks that we've seen in the last few days, that this campaign against Israel is going to continue unless there is a ceasefire in Gaza. So very difficult situation for the Lebanese government, because they're sort of caught in the middle between Israel and Hezbollah. But at the same time, it's very difficult to see how Hezbollah is going to back away from this, because they tied themselves to the situation in Gaza. And I think we're not seeing any possibility of any kind of deal for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Okay, Hugo Bitchute, thank you very much for bringing us the latest from Beirut. We will stay with developments and Hugo throughout the morning here on the BBC News. Some breaking news coming into us, though, just now, and that is that the Israeli military says that it is currently conducting extensive strikes in the south of Lebanon and the Bekaa area. So this morning, of course, we heard those sirens ringing out across Tel Aviv and central Israel as Hezbollah fired a missile, we understand, from Lebanon towards the Israeli city. That missile intercepted by Israel defense systems. And now we're hearing that the Israeli military is saying it's currently conducting extensive strikes in Lebanon. It does sound like the activity is continuing on despite all those calls, including from the UN General Assembly, for tensions to.
They are preparing for a ground war, and they're going to continue to strike. Israel's going to continue to strike Hezbollah and Lebanon, soften the battlefield for ground invasion, and they're going to seek and destroy. They're going to seek and destroy Hezbollah. It's only going to get worse. And like I said, even though you have September, October, November, December, January as the Esau months of the year, where the soul root of Esau is stronger, right, in relative terms. Esau last year, right at Rosh Hashanah, was very strong because we couldn't blow the shofar, right? But this year the shofar will blow. So what will happen is that in relative terms, the strength of Esau from year over year, Esau's strength will actually go down because of this blowing of the shofar. So it's not the most opportune time to strike. Israel's going to, Jacob, the soul root of Jacob, is going to be extremely strong in April of 2025. Extremely strong. So, but in relative terms from year over year, Esau's strength is more than Jacob, but year over year strength, Jacob's strength is going to be a little bit more, and Esau is going to be a little bit less. But the power dynamic is actually going to be in favor of Esau because of this time period in October. Remember, it's September, October, November, December, January. All right. And, in parts of August. So you got August, September, October, August, September, October, November, December, January. So there's 6 months there. So from August to January. But October is it's the pinnacle of that cycle. Same thing, April is a pinnacle for the cycle for Jacob. So it's going to be hard for Jacob to do a ground war in August, in October of this year. Okay, but in terms of year over year power dynamics, Jacob's actually stronger than last year, a lot stronger. Esau is still strong or stronger than Jacob, but a lot weaker than last year. All right. So there's this flux that's happening. All right. So they are softening the targets. Now, do they go in October? I don't know. Because that's the peak. October is the peak of Esau's strength. So it may actually make sense to wait until there's a waning of the strength of Esau. So you're talking about November timeframe, December timeframe. But who knows what, but they're definitely softening the targets for a ground war, a ground offensive. So I'm going to play News Nation. Sometimes they have some good stuff. So.
Taking you overseas, are we on the brink of world war?
Yeah, before we do that, before we talk about the brink of world war, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take my advice about how to use probiotics. All right. I have two different types of probiotics. I have it in a veggie cap form, and I also have it in a powdered form. All right. I take the powdered form on a daily basis because it's easy to mix with my hummus. All right. But the veggie cap form is easy to take. It's low maintenance, right? So different customers prefer a different modality. But the powder, you just take a scooper every day, mix it with your food or with water, take it. I mix it with food. And with the veggie caps, you just take the veggie caps every day, no problem. Drink it with filtered water. The way this works is that with taking a good probiotic, you're going to reset your gut. And what's going to happen is that you're going to reduce inflammation in your gut. You're going to start having a better microbiome in your gut. You're going to be able to absorb nutrients better and easier. By reducing that inflammation, you're reducing the chances of getting sick, because inflammation causes that mucosal barrier in the inner lining of your gut to weaken and get thin, right? And when that happens, you're increasing the chances of getting sick. So when you ingest pathogens of some sort, if you have a weak lining in your gut due to inflammation or poor microbiome, you're going to get sick more often. And when you start causing damage to these cells, you're going to have cellular damage and mutations that eventually will lead to cancers. So it's really important to have a good gut biome to reduce the inflammation and reduce incidences of cancer. One of the most active recycling and shedding of cells in our body is our gut lining. All right. And there's, not to get into the details of this, but there is a crypt. There's a crypt that's in that lining of your gut. Well, the stem cells in the crypt are the ones that keep repopulating the surface of the inner lining of your gut. Well, if those crypt cells get mutated in such a way, then it's creating cells that could turn cancerous. Now, there's a few pathways that have to be knocked out or mutated for it to go into this cancer causing mutation. But if you don't have the inflammation, if you have a good gut biome, if you have a good mucosal barrier, right, and you have a good concentration of IgAs, which are a type of antibody within your mucosal lining of your gut, that improves your health. So it's really important to bring down that inflammation, and you do that by improving your gut health and improving that microbiome. Now, that microbiome will also improve the communication between your gut and your liver. There are nutrients that come in. There are metabolisms that are taking place with the bacteria that are in your gut. And those chemicals that are created end up going in and communicating with your liver. So there's a better communication that's taking place. In addition, there is a communication that's taking place similarly with your gut and your brain. So you'll have better mental acuity, and you're going to have your mood will be better, right? Our mood, our, either depression or anxiety can be affected by the gut, by the health of the gut. So by improving your gut biome, you're improving your metabolism, you're improving the communication between your gut and your liver and your gut and your brain. In addition, poor gut health can affect your skin. All right. So you can see the manifestation of a bad gut by stool samples, having problems digesting, metabolism issues, liver problems, mood issues, or concentration, memory issues. These are all related, and you can improve it. You can improve it, and you can reduce that chronic inflammation because of the American diet, which is called SAD, the standard American diet. You can improve your health by eating right, drinking filtered water, and taking a good probiotic. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get this probiotic. It's a powder form, or go to my store and get the Veggie Cat form. Just click the link. It's in the description of this video. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. And lastly, I partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we've created these great deodorant bars. I have the peppermint, lavender, and tea tree deodorant, and the citrus deodorant. All right. These deodorants are made from essential oils from the Himalayas. Very high quality ingredients, has no aluminum, no baking soda, and it's a dual purpose product. You use it as a deodorant, and it can help to detoxify your body. Really important, because these chemicals that we are around with our just modern living are affecting our endocrine system. So you want to prevent that. You want to slow that down. You don't want it to affect your immune system and your endocrine system. So you need to do things that are light detoxes on a daily basis to improve your health. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get a couple bars of these deodorants. They're very high quality. It's for males and females, and it's a dual purpose product. It helps to detoxify your body, and is used as a deodorant. Very high quality. You're not going to be able to get this anywhere else. It's way better than anything that Unilever or Procter & Gamble makes. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get these very high quality deodorants. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to News Nation and see what's going on with World War III.
Here. President Biden believes a ceasefire deal can still be obtained between Israel and Hezbollah. Yet both sides are ramping up their attacks on each other across the Lebanon-Israel border. Joining me now is Bill O'Reilly, host of No Spin News and the author of the current #1 New York Times bestseller, Confronting the Presidents. Bill, good morning to you. Thanks for being on with me.
The pleasure, Marky.
So tensions are mounting, as you know, by the day, as we inch closer and closer to October 7th. Many, including President Trump,
I always go on a tangent if something, I've had interesting series of things that have happened, but last year, Bill O'Reilly was supposed to promote his book at the Harvard Club, and then he canceled, and it was never rescheduled. So I was supposed to see him speak about that book she's talking about, but it was, for whatever reason, I think he ended up getting sick or whatever. And it was never rescheduled, but that's a side note. All right.
War III. Do you think that's hyperbolic, or are we on the verge of that?
It's hyperbolic. But you have to basically understand that when you have a situation this volatile, it can get out of control, but it's not there yet. Couple of things. What drives this conflict in the Middle East is Iran. But Iran is vulnerable, and Israel could take out its ports. There are 4 of them in Iran. If that happens, Iran starves. So Iran's not going to want confrontation with Israel. That's number one. So that eliminates, for now, the world war possibility. As far as the terrorists are concerned, Hamas and Hezbollah, they've been a problem since 1949. And the problem is just ongoing. And Biden came out there and said he wants a ceasefire, but with all due respect, he has no clue. He doesn't understand the issue. He's not really interested in the issue. He's checked out. Now, I was and am very interested in Kamala Harris's view of it, but you can't get that because she doesn't submit to interviews. So right now it's a regional, it's nasty, it's going to get worse as far as October 7th, the anniversary is coming up. And Israel is, they're protecting themselves.
I know that Kamala Harris has agreed to a sit down today with MSNBC.
They're softening the targets, and it's going to be extremely bloody. And I'm telling you, Israel, independent of if you're for or against, Israel is hunting bear, man. They are hunting. They are going to hunt. And this whole power dynamic of the soul roots, with the blowing of the shofar right after Rosh Hashanah, the strength of Jacob gets stronger. All right. But it is in a month where Esau is stronger than Jacob. That means that every day that goes by after October, every day that goes by after October, Esau is getting weaker and weaker, and Jacob is getting stronger and stronger until at the end of January, when the inflection point happens, and then Jacob is very strong. And Jacob is going to be extremely strong in April. Now, this is all metaphysical, Kabbalistic, soul root undulations, all right? And I've been trying to explain this whole thing for almost a year now. So hopefully people understand what I'm talking about. But it's going to be really bloody. And it's going to, what happened in Gaza that was the trailer, all right? It's going to get bad in Lebanon. Very bad. But this is almost like, this is what you would have to do. Just imagine you being a surgeon and you're going into someone that has very severe cancer, all right, metastasized cancer, and you're trying to take out a lot of these tumors, all right. You're gonna have to take out good tissue. It's called having a margin, all right. So you're gonna have to take out good tissue to make sure that you have all the cancer in that area, in that lesion, taken out. All right. And then what you do is you do a biopsy to make sure that that margin doesn't have any cancer cells. You send it to pathology, and then they come back and they say, oh, you need to increase the margin or you're okay. So sometimes you have to go back in and take out more tissue. But the point is that to get cancer, when you're taking the cancer out surgically, you have to have margin. And so you have to cause damage to good cells to be able to try to take out all the cancer. That's what's going to be happening here. They're going in and they're going to be trying to take out Hezbollah, but there's going to be a lot of collateral damage to do it because Hezbollah has embedded itself, just like how Hamas did. Hezbollah has embedded itself in the population. And the population, there are many people within Lebanon that don't want Hezbollah. Now, what the people of Lebanon should do is reach out to the overall community, the world community, and say, Israel, we want to help. Saudi Arabia, help us. America, help us take out Hezbollah. And I'll tell you, the whole dynamic in the Middle East would change. But if they aren't going to do that, it's going to be extremely bloody, because Hezbollah they have military capability and military experience. And it's going to be much harder. And the terrain is worse for Israel, and it's more aligned for military tactics for Hezbollah. It's that whole terrain can be defended easier than to be to have some sort of offensive move from Israel. So Israel, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Now, looking at it from a metaphysical point of view, blowing the shofar is going to help Jacob. And as you move towards April, Jacob's going to be extremely strong this year, that from a soul root perspective.
They get into this conflict at all. We've been waiting for some.
Wait. A sit down with MSNBC, Marky, is like being interviewed by your mom.
Sure, I'm
Okay.
just saying that she is sitting down. We'll see if that. We'll see if they approach that at all.
She's not going to be challenged in any way. It's going to be a kiss, and that's why she's doing it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, we'll be watching tonight. Do you think a ceasefire would be possible under if she wins, if she's in the White House come January? What would that have to look like from her for that to come to fruition, Bill?
A ceasefire is dependent upon terrorists because terrorists run Gaza and much of Lebanon. So the terrorists can say, and maybe they will, and I hope they do, yeah, okay, we're going to release the hostages and we're going to stop fighting. But then 5 days later, get back to being terrorists. So I hate to be cynical about this, but I understand the issue. I've been there. It is extremely complex, and I don't think it's going to be solved anytime soon.
Before I let you go, Bill, what do you make of the Senate probe that just came out, kind of laying out all of the failures and inefficiencies from the Secret Service surrounding the first assassination attempt against President Trump? I mean, part of it says the Secret Service never even went on that rooftop where Thomas Matthew Crooks fired at him, or even at the building complex before the shooting took place. Your takeaways from that, Bill?
Horrifying. You know, I harken back to my book, Confronting the Presidents, and also Killing Lincoln, when his security detail left him alone in the theater so John Wilkes Booth could go up and blow his head off. These failures are human, but it's horrifying that, you know, once the premier protective agency in the world has descended to this point, Secret Service needs to be totally reorganized. That's just insane. So as an American, I'm very, very sad that this took place.
Yeah. The Secret Service obviously needs to be fortified for all of the protectees involved here. We'll see what more comes of this probe. Bill O'Reilly, always good to have you. Thank you so much, sir. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. Also, don't forget.
So what we're going to do is we're going to play NBC, which is a business show. I'm going to play NBC, and they interviewed Israeli President Isaac Herzog. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I'm sure you can't sleep at night because World War III is around the corner. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and improve your sleep by taking the Goodnight Formula. It has tryptophan and melatonin in this supplement. This will help you to get into 3 cycles of REM sleep, for you to go into deep sleep, and you need that for 3 reasons. 1, to have more energy in the morning, so you're well rested, to help to detoxify your body, and to help to consolidate memory. When you are sleep deprived chronically, you have problems with memory. You will have problems detoxifying your central nervous system, and you're going to have problems to be well rested. If you have chronic sleep deprivation for years, what's going to happen is that you're going to age faster, and you're going to increase the chances of early onset of dementia. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Goodnight Formula if you're not sleeping well. Slowing down the aging process and improving your immune system is based on many different pillars: proper diet, exercise, stretching, challenging your brain, proper supplementation, mindfulness, and sleep. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video, and get the Good Night Formula. To improve your immune system, which is really important. I can't say this enough. 2020 crisis, because of the inoculation and the pathogen, trashed your immune system. You need to boost up your immune system. If you listen to me, I'll get you through this bullshit. All right? But you got to listen and you got to do. You got to boost up your immune system and stay healthy. Neutralize pathogens, bring down reactive oxygen species, lower inflammation, and take supplements that will help to boost up the immune system. Try to stay healthy, and what will happen is that your immune system will heal. All right? I kind of give you some details about this very complex process of our immune system. All right? But what you need to do is go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get lignans. Take this powder every day. What it's going to do is help to improve your immune system. In addition, it also helps with your hormonal health. It's for males and females. What has happened is our endocrine system is disrupted and our immune system is disrupted. And both of them need to work good. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lignans, take it every day, and improve your immune system. See, through the crisis of 2020 and the aftershock, our immune systems aren't as robust. And it will need time to heal, to get those memory cells to kind of go down, to get those titer levels of antibodies to go down, to be able to kind of shed the stuff that is modulating our immune system. All right, we have too many IgG4s that are trying to suppress the robustness of our immune system. All right, we need those memory cells to die off. We need those antibody titers to go down. But it takes 5 to 10 years for this to happen. All right, you have to stay healthy for a good 5 years so you're not pulsing additional infection of SARS-CoV-2 or inoculations, because if you have that pulse, they'll tell the body to put the titers at, increase the titer level. All right, but what really happens is the titer levels are eventually keep on going up and then down and up and down, and it's in it. And the average titer level is actually going down. It pulses, right? But it can't really go up to its max titer level that it did in the second hit, right? It's called unresponsiveness. Your titer levels don't increase that to a higher level. It's kind of, it goes up, but it's below the high point of the previous time period. So, but you have to let the body heal and not get pulsed. Well, how do you not get pulsed? Don't get sick. Don't take the inoculation. And over a 5-year period, your body is going to heal. All right? Also, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the olive leaf extract. This is a great product. It's a dual product. All right? You should be taking this every day. What does it do? It helps to improve your immune system and your cardiovascular system. It's synergistic with lignans. So what this does is it brings down that inflammatory response. All right, so it's helping the immune system, because if it's chronically inflamed, what will happen is that your immune system is trying to, fight something, and it gets exhausted. It has lots of cortisol, and you just age faster. So you want to calm down those pro-inflammatory cytokines. So by taking olive leaf extract, you do that. In addition, by calming those pro-inflammatory cytokines and bringing down that inflammation, you're reducing chances of inflaming the inner lining of your blood vessels. When you're reducing that inflammation on the lining of your blood vessels, you're reducing cardiovascular disease. In addition, olive leaf extract brings down LDL levels and raises HDL levels. What that does is it's improving your lipid profile. So you have less bad cholesterol. That means that you have less bad cholesterol to oxidize to make plaque. So please go to my store, follow my advice, get this dual purpose product. It's high quality, it works, it helps your immune system and your cardiovascular system. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take this product. Take my advice or don't take my advice, but I guarantee you, the moment that you have a heart attack, you're gonna wish that you improved your lifestyle and supplementation, and you listen to people that were telling you how to improve your life, how to improve your health. Because most people, when they're having a heart attack, they are praying that they survive. I'll tell you, they get all shocked that they know that something's wrong, and they're all scared, right? You really want to go down that path? You really want to go down that path where it's questionable if you survive or not? Or do you want to listen and improve your health so you don't go down that path? Pay attention or don't pay attention. It's up to you. You have the knowledge to improve your health. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, or don't. It's up to you. But what I'm saying works.
In Lebanon. Mr. President, thanks for your time. Welcome to CNBC.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Mr. President, will Israel launch a full-scale ground operation in Lebanon?
Israel is not interested, did not want this war, and is not interested in going to war with Lebanon. But Israel has been attacked from October 8th, from Lebanon endlessly. And if you look at the situation today, Hezbollah has launched missiles and rockets all over the northern part of Israel. So we will do whatever it takes to bring our citizens back home and enable calm in our cities. That's the situation. So we've shown our capabilities, and we have much more on the way if they will continue.
Mr. President, you say you do not want this war, but nearly 500 people have already been killed, including 25 children. Thousands more have been injured. How do you justify the impact of this military action on Lebanese civilians?
Let's not be mistaken here. The attacks started by Hezbollah following the horrific terror attack of October 7th by Hamas. They've joined forces as they are proxies of the Iranian empire of evil. And all of these proxies are trying to close in on Israel from all sides of our borders. That's the real situation. Now, Hezbollah has been going on and on. It's a terrorist army which basically hijacked the nation called Lebanon. We tell the Lebanese people that we have no war with them, that we care for them, that we want to enable a peaceful future between us and Lebanon. It should have come a long time ago. But because Hezbollah is one of the most heavily armed armies in the world, a terrorist army armed up to its neck with huge amounts of ammunition, missiles, and what's not, we must defend ourselves. We alert, we give ample warning according to the rules of international law, but people have missiles in their kitchens, in their living rooms, in their storage rooms, in their mosques, in their shops. Now ask yourself, do you know anybody around your family or vicinity that holds a lethal weapon of such magnitude in his home?
Mr. President, help me understand. Mr. President, help me understand the strategy moving forward here, because Israel now finds itself essentially in a war of two fronts here, and the United States has also expressed some really serious concern about what Israel's plans actually are here. Of course, the US also says a war in Lebanon is not the way to get Israeli hostages home. So what is Israel's end goal and timeline in Lebanon?
Actually, I commend the United States because it confirmed the fact that what we are trying to do is first and foremost hit a terrorist organization that is a registered terrorist organization that has killed many, many Americans in the last decades, and the blood of many Americans and other nationalities are on their hands. Now, what tool does my nation have but to defend itself? For 11 months, Israelis have been evacuated from our north, about 100,000 people, leaving everything behind. Their homes have been demolished. They live as refugees in hotels. They have no future. A whole region in my nation, in my country, has been desolate. What else is there to do? Should we wait forever? Because Mr. Nasrallah, Sheikh Nasrallah, decided that he wants to keep on going in the war? Because we are trying to negotiate a hostage deal. And Mr. Sinwar in the dungeons of Gaza says no, and again no, and again no. This is the situation. The entire international community is trying to resolve this conflict. And we commend them for that. But the resolving of the conflict means bringing back our hostages home. 101 hostages. And so far, none, nil. I mean, in the last few months, nothing. So this is the situation. So first and foremost, we have to remove the threat from Israel's northern border, and that's what we're trying to do.
Members of the government have called to reoccupy southern Lebanon. Is that also part of the end goal here?
No, it's not. And I must say clearly, we are a very vibrant democracy. And we have a range of opinions that go from the extreme right to the extreme left. Everybody is allowed to say what they feel. This is the true gist of democracy. So people say, but the position of the Israeli government has been clear, and I reiterate it all the time. We don't have territorial expectations or any ambitions in Lebanon or elsewhere. We don't have territorial ambitions in Gaza either. But we have the inherent right, which is given to any nation in the world, to live in peace and quiet, not to be attacked day in, day out by missiles and rockets and terror. And terror is what is tilting this region.
I'm going to push back on something that he said, okay? There are people within Israel, okay, that may not realize that the activities that they're doing are moving the borders to biblical time period to allow for the Temple Mount to be rebuilt and the Dome of the Rock to be brought down. They may not realize what they're doing, but there's going to be a cascade of events that leads to that to happen, all right? An emergence that takes place that they may not have planned, all right? There are other people that are planning. Now, is he saying this based on what, that territory isn't going to increase for Israel, and he believes that or not? I don't know. I'm not him. But there are two groups. Ones that really believe what he's saying, and that they just want the fighting to end, and there's no new territorial expansion. And there are other people that are wanting territorial expansion. So it's not monolithic. There are people in Israel that are on both sides of this. All right. The point I'm making is the ones that don't want territorial expansion may actually get territorial expansion through an emergent property through this multi-front war. And I have a feeling that what was said by King Abdullah from Jordan, Abdallah, whatever, what was said at the UN yesterday, I think is a inflection point for a much larger conflict in that region, and that territory will be lost by Jordan. Now, how that emerges, I'm not sure. I highly doubt that Jordan would actually align with, let's say, Iran or Syria, I would assume that they would align with Israel and Saudi Arabia. But maybe something happens and there is a different configuration, a different alignment. It's too hard to see right now. But I have a feeling that there was a curse that came down onto the monarchy of Jordan because of what he said at the UN. Independent if you agree with him or not, I just think that there's a metaphysical, something changed, something he could have aligned himself where the cancer has to be taken out. And once the cancer is taken out, then you can have regional peace and prosperity for all the nations there, all of them. But Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran's theocracy has to be killed, destroyed, never to come back again. That's the stance he should have taken. But he took a stance where he wanted to protect his own borders because none of the countries want the Palestinians. None of the Arab countries want the Palestinians. Why is that? Why is that?
Into a very bad direction. And the terror is instigated by an empire of evil, sitting in Tehran, spending billions of dollars, arming all these agents all over the region. Take the Houthis in Yemen. They've hijacked an entire sea, the Red Sea, which is a main artery of trade around the world. So the world has to stand up to these terrorists and say no more. Get the goddamn mob out of the city.
Mr. President, to your point about the impact on the region, of course, you've heard what your app.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3. It's a gene expression cofactor. Excuse me. It's a gene expression cofactor. It helps to have the proper cellular processes for the cell. If the cell is infected, it'll help to get the cell to go into apoptosis. A lot of people don't realize that infected cells, sometimes those pathogens can override the apoptosis pathway, especially with viruses. And vitamin D3 helps to get the cell to go into apoptosis and die and clear the infection. So this is the reason why it's so important to take vitamin D3 during the infection. In addition, it helps to absorb calcium. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3. It's part of a protocol to help to improve your cardiovascular system and improve your bone health, on top of the apoptosis effects. And by getting rid of cells that need to die off, you're actually improving your cells and improving your tissues. Now, it's synergistic because of the apoptosis and gene expression cofactor. It's synergistic with resveratrol. Resveratrol helps to get rid of senescent cells. And senescent cells are cells that don't want to die off because the telomere length shrunk down and it just stopped dividing. But what happens is those senescent cells start to accumulate toxins and they don't work as efficiently. And you want to get rid of those senescent cells. And in certain tissues that have adult stem cells, you can repopulate that tissue and have longer telomere lengths. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the resveratrol to allow your cells to go into senescence. It's synergistic with D3, all right? And it's also synergistic with other antioxidants because resveratrol is an antioxidant. So it's synergistic with ubiquinol that I sell and also C60. And it's very important to take vitamin C every day. It helps to improve your skin, but it also helps with your immune system. If you're not feeling well during the cold season, please take a double dose of this. Drink it with filtered water.
Neighbors have said fears are growing about a wider regional conflict here. Your Arab neighbors clearly angry that Israel is seemingly prioritizing military solutions over diplomatic efforts here. So what's your message to them, and can you avoid a wider regional war now?
The diplomatic
Hulu Plus Live TV has over 95 channels.
Yes! Tap into that surprise!
Live news, local channels.
You got it. Together. Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, all in one plan. Wow!
The diplomatic effort is very important, and for months, the Biden administration and its special envoy Amos Hochstein, a very talented diplomat, tried their best. But right now, it didn't bring any results. The missiles did not stop. Houses did not stop being demolished. Citizens did not stop being killed. So this is what we're trying to explain to all our neighbors. We appreciate our neighbors. We think there should be a grand coalition for peace in the region. The future of the region is only in a major kind of articulation and choreography of a new peaceful structure in the region, a NATO-like region structure. We were working on it. We saw it when the Iranians attacked us in April. But unfortunately, what else is expected of decent human beings in the modern world that are seeking peace? If they come to kill you, you defend yourself. That's what we're trying to do.
Can I get your reaction to some comments that Iran's president has made in New York this week? He says he doesn't want war with Israel. How do you respond to that?
So I read the comment by the Iranian president, and I think that I've made it clear Israel doesn't want war at all, but Israel seeks to defend itself, and if it has to, it will. The issue is, of course, that the Iranian president says something, and yet his national guards are leading the entire region into the abyss by ongoing terror, by the pressing of the button, by instructions of his own generals who are seated in the control rooms of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad and Hezbollah and the Houthis and the proxies in Iraq. You see it all over. I mean, they give the instructions, they speak to them, they work with them, they cooperate with them, they finance them, they give them the ammunition. How come a small tribe of 50,000 people in Yemen has ballistic missiles and cruise missiles? Very few nations have it. How come they have it in Hezbollah, which is situated in Lebanon and should have been abiding to the Lebanese government, but the opposite has occurred in the recent decades, unfortunately. This is a real strategic situation. If the president of Iran really wants to lead to a different direction, then his proxies must be eliminated, must be removed, and a process has to ensue.
Mr. President, just on another issue, with regards to the impact that we are seeing in Israel, of course, a lot of our conversation is focused on the impact around the world and the impact in the region, but inside Israel, do you appreciate the strain that these wars are putting on Israel, its people particularly, socially and also economically?
We are a very resilient nation. Unfortunately, throughout history, we've gone through major tragedies, and we rebuild our nation and we build a beautiful country and a very successful country. But what you're telling me is to wave a white flag and give up. What are you telling me exactly? You're telling the jihadists that they have a legitimate right to burn, rape, butcher, and abduct and kidnap our citizens? We want our citizens back home. We want to live in peace. Two internationally recognized boundaries were truly violated by these proxies in the south and in the north. These borders were recognized by the international community, by the Security Council. What else is there? What do you expect from human beings but to defend themselves?
So on that.
At Harbor Freight, we're committed to ensuring our tools are expertly engineered and built to last. How do we do it? First, we build state-of-the-art labs for tool development and quality assurance.
So on that, how will the government address the overall economic fallout that we're seeing from these escalating military actions, both in Gaza and in Lebanon, especially with predictions of another GDP contraction. We've seen ongoing credit rating downgrades as well. This is a serious issue in Israel that perhaps isn't getting the attention it deserves.
You know that after wars, there are a lot of new energies poured into any market. Israel is a very, very innovative country with brilliant ideas. I trust the Israeli spirit of innovation and capabilities, and we will see immense growth and development in Israel after the war. For that reason, we are working hard to bring peace and quiet to our nation. But sometimes wars.
There's a caveat to what he's saying. All right. I think in the long run, there will be innovation, peace, and prosperity for all these nations, including Israel. In the short run, it's going to be inflationary and they're going to have economic hardship because I think that their economy is not as robust and it can't bounce back as fast as an economy that is as vast as the United States. All right. In addition, they have to issue bonds for the war effort. So this war effort with all the missiles that they fire off and you know the rearmament and the resupplying of the military after the war, you know, just to be, you know, to have military readiness, it's going to be inflation. It's going to be inflationary. So I think in the short run, there are going to be a few years that maybe more, but at least a few years where economically there's going to be some hardship in Israel. But in the long run, in the 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 year time horizon, that region for all these nations are going to be, there's going to be a lot of prosperity and economic development that takes place. Especially if you start, you know, doing canal systems and, you know, and building up agriculture and stuff like this, where you're getting the water and you're you know, kind of like repopulating the desert. I mean, in theory, there's enough water around Saudi Arabia to turn Saudi Arabia into a forest. All right, if there was a will to do it, you could do it. Right. Or have these reservoirs of water, where you have these canal systems and build a reservoir that deposits this water. So, you know, but it's a major engineering project. But through engineering, you can create a lush environment in the Middle East. So overall, I'm optimistic for all the countries, including Lebanon and Syria and Iraq and even Iran. But the terrorists have to be killed. The theocracy in Iran has to be gone, eliminated.
Are costly, unfortunately. They're very painful. And I repeat again for the fourth or fifth time, we didn't want this war and we don't want war, but we're attacked. And if we're attacked, we have to defend ourselves.
Just finally, Mr. President, on another issue here, the Israeli military raided Al Jazeera in the occupied West Bank. What is Israel going to do in the West Bank that it doesn't want Al Jazeera to report?
It's not to do with the West Bank. Apparently, the Al Jazeera system was pouring a lot of amount of hate and fake news and lies. And under Israeli law, we took preemptive efforts simply to neutralize that source of lies that poured a lot of hate into the region, flaring up libelous emotions against Israel, Jews, and innocent Palestinians, by the way. It's important to note that Palestinians were hurt by the Hezbollah attack. Yesterday, a Palestinian village suffered some of the rocket attacks. Today, an Israeli Arab city, Muslim town, Tamar, suffered the same, and so many others. There's no differentiation here between blood and blood. They're all our brothers and sisters. We all seek peace. But let's be honest about it. There's a whole jihadist culture here that is pouring tons of billions of dollars of poor people's money and poor people's lives in Iran and elsewhere, taking their resources and pouring it into war, pouring it on us, pouring it on hate to Israel and the Jews. That won't work. We shall overcome, we shall survive, we shall succeed, we shall win, and we shall bring peace to the region.
You can skip this video, but you can't skip the truth. Right now in North Gaza, children are going to bed hungry every night. The recent conflict has left countless families without food, shelter, and hope. The truth is, your help is desperately needed.
Okay, I'm going to go to Times Radio. Now, they typically are, very pessimistic with Israel. But it's important to get their perspective, I think. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and bring down that inflammation. All right, there's a common theme. By bringing down inflammation, you're improving your immune system. All right. Ashwagandha root will help to control your blood glucose levels and bring down the cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. And by doing that, you're bringing down that inflammation. All right. In addition, taking turmeric, you take it together, and taking turmeric, which is a strong antioxidant, but it also brings down inflammation. And by doing this, you're being able to boost up your immune system and you're improving your cardiovascular health because you're reducing the cortisol levels, you're reducing the blood glucose levels, and you're reducing the inflammation. So that it's a dual purpose. You're helping your immune system and your cardiovascular system. So take ashwagandha and turmeric every day. Really important. There's a theme. Neutralize pathogens, soak up free radicals through antioxidants, and bring down inflammation. It'll take you a long way to boosting up your immune system. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video. And make sure that you get the turmeric and the ashwagandha. Very high quality products on my store. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, so let's play Times Radio. It's titled "Major Lebanon Incursion Will Expose Cracks in the Israeli Army." So I think they'll have a good perspective on this. Let's see what they have to say here.
The older generals really do remember 2006, and 2006 was a real mess for the Israeli army. And if they're concerned with preserving the reputation of the Israeli army, which used to be this crack force, and still is really, the dominant military force in the Middle East, and the deterrent effect that comes from having such a crack force, they will probably said, well, let's have a very limited incursion into Lebanon, because if we get stuck there, we're going to first of all, we'll be stuck in Gaza and stuck in southern Lebanon.
Keep everything here on Times Radio. It's till 1 o'clock. I'm currently joined by the Times Diet.
I think they're worried about getting stuck in Lebanon, but there's a difference between 2006 and now. Drone warfare. All right. This power dynamic has changed totally. I mean, are tanks really that useful now with drones? Probably not. It's changed the whole battlefield. Just like how trench warfare kind of went into a stalemate until airplanes and tanks came to the scene. So I'm not so sure that the same mistakes would be made in a new war in 2024, 2025 versus what happened in 2006.
Joined as well by the Times' diplomatic editor, Roger Boys. Good morning, Roger.
Hello.
Good morning. So look, the front page of the Times today reports that defence chiefs are wrapping up plans for the evacuation of British citizens from Lebanon amid fears of an all-out war with Israel. Kistan was in New York today to address the United Nations Security Council, and the Middle East, as well as the war in Ukraine, will of course be under discussion. Roger, look, tell us a bit about what's actually changed in the last couple of days, because I mean, Hezbollah has been firing rockets at Israel for a while. Israel's been periodically firing back. Things have just been vastly more intense.
Yes, I think in contrast to the Gaza campaign, the Israeli forces have actually rehearsed and planned this quite precisely, and so we sort of know what's going to happen at different stages. And we can see that already they're pushing back in South Lebanon, and there's a massive internal evacuation going on, pushed on in a way by warnings from Israel that they're going to bomb South Lebanon flat, basically. So they're all heading north, and really, it's only a matter of time before Beirut Airport and airspace gets closed. Hence the Cobra meetings and so on. And it's not just Britain that's doing this. America has got a whole load of people in place. I say in place, but off the coast. And we have the advantage of a kind of sea bridge as well as an air bridge to Cyprus and the airbase we have there.
But from Israel's perspective, the argument made by the Israeli government is that Hezbollah has been bombing them consistently for a while. It's reasonable for any country to strike back. Do you think the Israeli response, the Israeli attack now, would be happening even if Hezbollah had been more muted? Is that just? I mean, is it a direct response? Could Hezbollah have avoided this onslaught by stopping firing rockets some time ago, or do you think is it just in Israel's strategic interests to deal with Hezbollah on their northern border?
Well, it's partly a signal to Iran and for Iran not to get involved because Hezbollah is the defender of Iran's soft underbelly. It is the prime proxy force to defend Iran if Iran thinks that Israel is going to head for its nuclear plants, for example. So in a way, it's all kind of de-escalatory, although, you know, there's this phrase, escalate to de-escalate. So there's a bit of that on all sides at the moment. No one wants Iran involved. Israel also doesn't want it involved. It doesn't particularly want to attack Iranian nuclear sites, but it could be an option at some stage. And so everyone is doing something in order not to do something else. And that's just come to a head. Hezbollah was always one of these phantom enemies for...
That's the wrong strategy. Stop being afraid. Go and take out the capability, because what's going to happen is that if they do get a nuclear breakout, it's going to change the whole power dynamic, and it's going to be a lot harder. It's better to kill this capability, destroy the capability, and knock out the theocracy of Iran now than later. Do it now. Stop being afraid. This is where that whole curse comes down on Israel, of being afraid to get the job done. Let me go back a little bit here.
Supposed to show that they've got range to have 150,000 rockets, and you know that number is significant because it can overpower Israel's Iron Dome defenses.
Because they fire too many at once.
Because they fire too, yes, you crowd the airspace and you basically hit. And in fact, they shot a rocket towards Tel Aviv yesterday.
Yeah, how significant is that?
Well, I think it's supposed to show that they've got range and they've got, they've got the will to do it, but nothing happens. So the Israelis won't exactly shrug that off, but it will be a little, alarm bell in the minds of Israelis.
What's the likelihood, do you think, of there being a ground invasion by Israeli troops?
Well, I mean, the older generals really do remember 2006, and 2006 was a real mess for the Israeli army. And if they're concerned with preserving the reputation of the Israeli army, which used to be this crack, force and still is really, the dominant military force in the Middle East, and the deterrent effect that comes from such a crack force, they will have probably said, well, let's have a very limited incursion into Lebanon, because if we get stuck there, we're going to look. First of all, we'll be stuck in Gaza and stuck in southern Lebanon, and our army is going to look feeble, or at least the cracks in the army are going to be exposed, because we're going to need to call up reservists, and the reservists will be unhappy, and it will affect the Israeli economy. Yeah, so because manpower will be drawn out of the economy. So there is quite a big argument within the army for doing this. And that's to say, for making it into an extensive war or an extensive invasion. And some of the rhetoric, even from Netanyahu, suggests that it could be a limited incursion, which, the most clever thing they've done so far is they've been hitting rocket launchers rather than the rockets. So they, this kind of takes away Hezbollah's threat in some ways.
Roger Boyce, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you,
Roger Boyce, it's diplomatic editor at The Times.
It's kind of a weird editing. Talk to someone talking about military operations and then show the mourning of the dead in, I think, in Lebanon. I don't know. It seems a little biased to me. All right, so let's play Talk TV here.
Serious escalating situation in Lebanon overnight. In fact, for something like 24 hours now, but overnight, Israel pummeled Lebanon with something like 1,600 bombs, and I think they continue to face. Some of the footage was pretty harrowing. You could hear people screaming. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Lebanese people trying to flee the country, certainly fleeing their homes. There in the south of Lebanon, where most of the bombardment is happening. This is a massive escalation. We talked about it last week. Obviously, meanwhile, Hezbollah, who are the real targets of this, continue to fire rockets into Israel. And I suppose the big question is, will Israel follow this bombardment with a land invasion? Let's talk to a man who we talked to about this last Friday, and it was fascinating stuff, but it seems to have moved on since then. He's in Kabul at the moment, former defense attaché, military defense analyst and expert, Simon Diggins. So Simon, thank you for rejoining the show. Is he not in Kabul? It says he's in. No. Oh, you were in Kabul. You're not there now. I didn't look very Kabulish behind you. Anyway, nice to have you on board anyway. What about this extraordinary night of pummeling? I think the death toll is now up to around about 600, thousands and thousands injured, tens of thousands trying to leave or having to leave their homes, if not the country, traffic jams everywhere. So this is a massive escalation on the part of Israel. And you have to ask, what next? Does this preempt a land invasion, Simon, in your view?
It is one of the possibilities which is there. Good evening, Kevin. It's not entirely clear that Israel is going to do that. There are many sort of countering voices to them, pointing out what happened the last time they invaded properly, which was in 2006. Again, the same target existed then. They were trying to militarily defeat Hezbollah. But they had to withdraw after about a month. So there will be concerns within some of the Israeli generals pointing out some of the problems with it. The issue is, what do you do? I mean, you can continue to conduct this violent aerial assault upon Lebanon, causing lots of casualties, as you say, creating sort of a human wave of people who are leaving. The figures are over 100,000 now, having fled from the south. But to what end? It will not destroy Hezbollah. It will write down its capabilities. And indeed, the Pager attack last week did, but it will not destroy Hezbollah. And then it does not easily then convert into a long-term strategy, which at some point means some kind of peace, not just in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon, but also in Gaza itself. And so tactically, Israel will always have the upper hand, but where's the strategy? Where's the long-term aim for all of this? And that's, I think, is the challenge that many people, particularly in the West, are asking. Where does this all lead to, except for more violence and potentially a wider regional conflict?
As I say, figures are not completely up to date, but certainly the last verified figures were more than 560 people have died. That's quite a death toll, including 50 children and many women. Netanyahu has addressed the Lebanese people to say our war is not with you, our war is with Hezbollah. As I say, overnight, where it was described that nightfall never really fell last night. There was this strange orange glow over all of Lebanon due to the many explosions. You can watch the video, it's quite striking stuff. The point is that more than 1,600 targets were hit by these bombs. We're looking at them now. And Israel said, well, these were strategic targets, military targets. Are you convinced that they all were military targets, Simon?
No, I think the challenge we've got is to recognise that Hezbollah is for us a prescribed force, but for certainly one section of Lebanese people, the Shia people of the area, they see themselves Hezbollah as their defenders. I mean, Hezbollah has got adherents from other elements of the population of Lebanon, but it's very much seen as a sort of Shia defense mechanism for the future. And I think that's where the challenge is going to be. So when Netanyahu says that you were, if you have a bomb in your garage or whatever it is, we'll attack you. Actually, you're attacking the people, the Shia people of Lebanon as well. And we violently disagree with some of the way they're approaching their attitudes. And I think most of us have nothing but contempt for Iran and its behaviours. But nonetheless, Hezbollah, in the same way that Hamas represents a viewpoint of the people of Gaza, so does the Hezbollah represent that. And they are wider than just military. They have their own social networks, they have their own supermarkets, they run health services, they run 5 hospitals, which are named as Hezbollah hospitals. So are these legitimate targets for Israel? And that's what I find strange as somebody who's both been involved in counterinsurgency campaigns and studied for most of my military career. The essence of a counterinsurgency campaign is to separate the people from terror groups or the guerrilla group or whatever they do. This will not work. This will not terrify them. They will bunker down, as most people do. They'll resent Israel, and they'll just store up trouble for the future. As I said, tactically, the Israelis can do what they wish. They're incredibly competent, very intelligent, ingenious, but there is no strategy, discernible strategy, what they're trying to do. And I think that'll be even more the case if they decide to conduct a ground invasion of Lebanon.
Something you said on Friday was ringing in my mind all week.
I still think that the power dynamic changes with drone warfare. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this new product that I have on my store, nattokinase. Nattokinase is fibroanalytic, so it'll break up clots, but it'll also help to lower your LDL and HDL levels to improve your cardiovascular health. So please go to my store and get the nattokinase. I also have now vitamin K2 on my store. This is the MK7 molecule. This is important for bone health, joint health, and cardiovascular health. All right. I've explained on how to take it. You take it with D3. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take this K2 supplement to improve your bone health and your cardiovascular health. K2 is synergistic with omega-3, and K2 is synergistic with nattokinase because K2 helps with the vascular system. Nattokinase helps with the vascular system in a different way. So it's part of a stack. Omega-3 also helps, prevents those red blood cells from sticking, and it'll lower your LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So you should be taking omega-3 every day. So all three of these are synergistic to help with your cardiovascular health. So go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the omega-3, the maltol kinase, and the K2. They're great supplements, high quality. And if you do this on a regular basis, you're going to be improving your cardiovascular health. But you also have to improve your diet and do some exercising, some resistance training, some cardiovascular, not a lot, but a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. With proper diet, exercise, proper sleep, proper supplementation, you can really improve your health. So please come to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
And continues to do so. It was this, that could it be that Netanyahu, the consummate political survivor, a man who is hanging on by his fingernails, but may see his future as the war leader that Israel looks to. They may not look to him too much in peacetime, but if there is war, they may feel Netanyahu is a good man to be in charge. And as such, is he in pursuit of eternal war?
That is an argument that's put. I put it on Friday.
Yeah.
It's put by many Israelis that politically, both politically in terms of his party political, but also his own personal survival, he has no interest in a peaceful solution. The story he told, the narrative story he told the Israeli people is that you do not need to have a viable two-state solution because we can keep the Palestinians divided, and we've got sufficient firepower support from both the Americans and ourselves to some extent, never have to compromise with them. After the horrors of October 7, and nobody should hide the horrors of October 7, it was almost like he now had the opportunity to demonstrate what he meant. But actually, as it's proven, it doesn't. There's no end state to this. There's no way you can walk back from this. So the more violence he inflicts on the Lebanese people, the less likely it is there should be a ceasefire, and therefore less likely to be any kind of sustainable peace and stability within the region. It walks him into a place where essentially his only policy is war. And that's war as a policy, not as a means to achieve a political end, which most people who study war regard war as a means to an end. For him, war fighting is the end in itself.
Okay, so let's cut him some slack. Let's say that he does have a plan and it goes beyond eternal war for his own survival. Let's say he does have a plan. What could you construct around what's happening that would denote some kind of mission destination? What if he has more than a plan to just wage eternal war? What would it be in Lebanon, given what's going on?
Well, there is an intermediate position, which is where Hezbollah has failed to do what it said it would do in 2006, which is that the Hezbollah agreed to move its military forces to the north of the Litani River. The Litani River runs about 18 or so kilometers north of the Israeli border. And whilst this would not materially affect the use of longer-range missiles, clearly not having them right literally toe-to-toe with the Israelis on the border would make a difference. So part of that solution, part of the, if you like, an intermediate objective could be to persuade Hezbollah to move north of the Litani River. So there is something there. But Hezbollah themselves at the moment are saying they will not cease their operations until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. So we have this kind of standoff between these two forces, neither of which at the moment can see a way to break free of what the positions they're taking. But yes, there is a potential for a slightly more peaceful solution in the end in the Lebanon if all sides can be called upon to cooperate.
We discussed on Friday, and I want to get your take on the latest situation. How will Hezbollah, right now, I think they're pretty reeling. I think all of Lebanon is reeling. But Hezbollah, they will regroup. Now, we talked last week about what would maybe constitute total war. Well, I suppose that would involve a land invasion by the IDF. But apart from that, we are that close to what you would call total war. You can't pound a country with 1,600 bombs overnight and kill 600 people without calling that a state of war. So I guess my question in a long-winded way, Simon, is how will Hezbollah react? What can the world expect going forward?
Well, they will do what they're doing at the moment. They will conduct. They'll respond when they can and fire missiles into Israel. In terms of how they respond to a ground invasion, my understanding is they're well trained in this, and they've thought about how they'd operate guerrilla tactics, basically to use the extended lines of communications Israelis would then have to create in order to make it life very, very difficult for them. The one thing that we haven't really necessarily talked about at the moment is their very long-range ballistic missile, which can be supplied to them by Iran. And the feeling about these is that they will not use those at this stage. It's not simply because they're worried about, if you like, the wrath of the Israelis coming down upon them, but those missiles are given to them by Iran, really as part of Iran's own protection in the event that Israel was able to launch a significant attack upon Iran. The analogy you might look at, going right the way back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, is the Soviets placing missiles on Cuba itself, close to America, so that if America or the West decide to attack, and we have missiles in Turkey, decide to attack the Soviet Union from, say, Turkey, then they had a means to respond. So these missiles that are controlled by Hezbollah are basically are there for Iran's protection, and it'd be unlikely, unless Iran gave permission to Hezbollah, that they would be used. But they are very powerful and could easily hit targets throughout most of the length and breadth of Israel. But at the moment, they're not being used.
And what about terrorism around the world? Can we expect, well, I assume that countries like Britain and America should at the very least be on red alert right now. Would you predict, it's a horrible thing to have to predict, but would you predict that there's a potential for terrorist attacks?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a reasonable possibility. I'm sure our security services are looking at that option. Bear in mind that the response may not be immediate. So it may not be directly related to whatever happens in the next 3 to 5 days, or even a week or so within Israel itself. But it may be something which people then use as a justification for some form of attacks in the future. So I think it's a very reasonable surmise that our security will be threatened as a result of the operations that are taking place at the moment by Israel into that. They'll look for an opportunity, not least which could basically accuse us of sheer hypocrisy. We worry about every life that's lost in Israel, but the lives are lost in Lebanon. We appear, I don't think that's true, but they can make a plausible case that we don't care.
Quite. Now, last question really, Simon, for now, although I suspect we'll regroup fairly soon because this is a fast-changing situation. The role of Iran. Iran right now is happy for Hezbollah to catch all the flack, to stay in the background, pull the strings, but not get too involved. Will they continue with that?
Well, it's a really interesting question, because the response we've had from Iran up until now has been controlled, is the way I would put it. So whilst they have conducted a series of major attacks, they've always been slightly conditioned by what the potential response. So lots of rhetoric, always a response. So they don't ever let anything taken down, but they don't try and overreact or escalate upwards from that. And you saw that in the kind of exchange, the Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, followed by the missile attack from Iran, followed then by an Israeli counterattack into Iran itself. It was all quite measured, all quite controlled. But this is on a different scale. And the question then is for Iran, what they're going to do. Now, Iran today has said that Hezbollah can't stand this on its own. So there's some indication that Iran is considering its options and what it might do to up-pressure the pressure on Israel itself. Where they would actually themselves try and conduct direct attacks on Israel is probably unlikely. They may try and do something fairly symbolic, which is why presumably the Americans are moving some of their warships into the Eastern Mediterranean, potentially in preparation for at least some form of Iranian counterattack. But the question is, what can they actually do that would have a significant effect on Israel, given the geographical distance between them, the limited number of ballistic missiles they've got? The answer is not a lot. So they'll be calculating those as well. They'll support Hezbollah through rhetoric. Whatever they can do in terms of targeting intelligence, they will be doing. But will they do anything significant militarily? directly, I'm not sure. They might attack allies, they might find other targets which they regard as Israeli targets, but whether they attack Israel directly or not, I think is going to be less likely.
So the very final question, I mean, this not to exaggerate at all, but in terms of doomsday, we're about 1 minute to midnight, aren't we? This is a very, very tense situation, more tense than we've known, since October the 7th.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the attack in Lebanon really unlocked all sorts of chaos across the Middle East. It itself is a very fragile, fragmented country with a very delicate balance between the ethnic and religious groups within it. But those ethnic and religious groups have their own partnerships and associations that goes across the wider Middle East into Iraq and into other countries as well. And all those countries are just on a very, very tight balance itself. So this is really the most dangerous chance of a breakdown from a controlled but dangerous conflict into something regional that we've seen so far. So and whether it be sort of violence of war, or whether it be the impact of things like refugees and displaced persons, or even what we're now contemplating, appear to be contemplating, is announced today, that we're looking seriously at how we might evacuate up to 10,000 British entitled persons from Lebanon. That's a major military operation. So we're trying to conduct that major military operation in the midst of a hot war. That is a recipe for a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier, that we've moved a load of troops to Cyprus, I think it is, with a view to possibly having to do that, to evacuate 10,000 British citizens. So the situation is tense, is the understatement of the century.
Right.
Simon, always a pleasure to talk to you, fascinating stuff.
Before we go to democracy now, which I can't stand this lady, but I think it's important to get both sides of the perspective here. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take NAD+. This is something that I've added to my health protocol. NAD+ increases your energy, helps to repair DNA. It helps the whole DNA repair mechanism. As we get older, we have damage to our DNA, and we do have the capability of repairing some of it. But as we get older, there's more and more of that damage, and it overloads the repair mechanism. So we need to take a supplement like NAD+ to increase our energy levels, but also to help with repairing our DNA. NAD+ also is helps with neuroprotection, helps to maintain neural health. Very important, because as we get older, our neurons don't work as well, and we need to take supplementation to improve the health of our neurons. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD+ to boost up your energy levels, help to repair your DNA, and help to protect your neurons. NAC is a great supplement to take. It's something that I take every day now. NAC brings up the glutathione levels, so you're attacking the soaking up those free radicals in multiple vectors. All right, so NAC brings up your glutathione levels. Glutathione soaks up free radicals. It's synergistic with C60, and I'll talk about C60 in a little bit here. It's also synergistic with other antioxidants like resveratrol, turmeric, ubiquinol. And NAC will help to detoxify your liver and your kidney. In addition, it helps with mental health. So it helps to calm down anxiety issues and ADHD. All right. So take NAC as a supplement every day to improve your glutathione levels, so you have a strong antioxidant working in your body, detoxify your liver and your kidney, and to improve mental health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take NAC every day. Very important. And lastly, ubiquinol. It's the active form for CoQ10. This is important. It's an antioxidant, helps to boost up energy levels because it's improving the mitochondrial health. And it also helps with protection, neural health. So it's synergistic with NAD+ and resveratrol and C60. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get ubiquinol. You should be taking this every day. This is a very high quality product. All right. I've been taking CoQ10 and ubiquinol for a long time. All right. A long time. You know, decades. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get ubiquinol. Ubiquinol, for the ones that don't know, ubiquinol is the active form for CoQ10. It's a very high quality product. Go to my store, get ubiquinol, improve your neural health, improve your mitochondrial health, and it's another antioxidant that's important to soak up those free radicals. She's a free radical. Democracy Now!
.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
At least 22 people have been killed in Lebanon today as the Israeli military continues its bombardment across Lebanon. Israel's expanding the zones of attack with strikes for the first time on the beach resort town of Bitchute, just south of Beirut, and Maisra in the mountains in the north. The death toll over the past 3 days is nearly 600 killed, including over 50 children, 40 women, with more than 1,800 people wounded. Tens of thousands have fled southern Lebanon, many going to Beirut and the coastal city of Sidon, and are sleeping in schools and parks in their cars. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees...
I received a news announcement on my phone while we're recording this. So the BBC just sent an announcement that Israel Army Chief tells troops Lebanon strikes are preparing ground for them to enter enemy territory. So let me see, that might be going live with BBC. So let me see if I can find that while we play Democracy Now!
Two United Nations staffers were among those killed by Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon. Ali Basma worked as a janitor at the UNHCR's Tyre office for 7 years before he was killed in an Israeli strike Monday. And Dina Darwish, a 12-year staff member of UNHCR's Bekaa office, who was featured in UNHCR videos, was killed along with her son in an Israeli strike that seriously injured her husband and another of their children. Another Israeli strike killed cameraman Kamel Kayaki of Al-Manar TV. Meanwhile, Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets at Israel, including a long-range missile fired toward Tel Aviv that was intercepted by Israeli air defense systems. The UN Security Council scheduled an emergency meeting on Lebanon today at the request of France. For more, we go to Beirut, where we're joined by Aya Mesjud. She's Amnesty International's Deputy Director for the Middle East and North Africa. Welcome to Democracy Now! Aya, since you're right there in Beirut, just describe the scene on the ground in the country.
I mean, the onslaught that started Monday was really unprecedented. We saw tens and tens and tens of thousands of families hastily pack up their bags, leave their homes without any idea where they're going to next. All across Beirut now, you see cars that are parked with displaced families that have nowhere to go. The strikes have been expanding. There's a lot of misinformation around. People are paranoid.
BBC saying right now, this is live from BBC.
And that about 100 targets have been hit since the morning. We saw a wave of strikes in the east and in the south of Lebanon. And at the same time, Hezbollah rockets have been hitting some of them in the north of Israel, causing damage and some injuries as well. Now, It's not clear how long this operation will last, but Israel has said its aim is to return tens of thousands of its displaced citizens from their homes. It's been nearly a year of fighting that has gone on now, although it's intensified in recent days, this across the border, and it's gone on in parallel to the war in Gaza. This lunchtime, what could be an important development, we had the head of Israel's Northern Command telling ground troops that they should be ready for maneuvers and for action. That could really trigger a new escalation.
Now, what is interesting with this is that I'm not seeing a appreciation in the oil market. So while that's going on, let's just go back to democracy now, liberal now.
Another pager walkie-talkie attack. I mean, the situation is really devastating. And Amy, there's, I really want to put the death count into perspective here. In a single day on
Armed Forces has been speaking to some of those troops who are actually stationed on the northern border in the last hour or so. What he has been saying to them is to prepare for a ground invasion, which again would be a further escalation in what we've seen, of course, which began just after October the 7th. But what we've seen along the border between Israel and Lebanon has been very different to the conflict that we've seen down in Gaza. We've seen a steady, over the course of 11 months or so, exchange of fire, but everything changed just over a week ago when pagers and then walkie-talkies held by members of Hezbollah exploded here in Beirut and around Lebanon. And then we've seen a real Israeli uptick. Let's go to the UN in New York. Keir Starmer is speaking now. Let's see what he says.
With no agenda other than helping those in need. The UN and the ICRC have both lost staff this month in Gaza, Lebanon, and Donetsk. More than 200 aid workers have been killed so far this year, including British citizens. Their humanity should illuminate the work of this council. Because we have heard again today just how dire the situation has become. The Security Council must deliver its responsibility for global peace and security. So I want to use this meeting to call to action in 3 key areas. First, we need to renew the international consensus on delivering humanitarian support. This should be a bare minimum, yet too often we're falling short. We must address the situation in Gaza. The 7th of October was the bloodiest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. I utterly condemn the terrorist actions of Hamas. The ordeal of the hostages and their loved ones continues almost a...
We're going to go back to... I find these speeches so boring. I don't even want to watch the speeches.
Highest daily death tolls in recent global wars. It is higher than most daily death tolls in Gaza in the past year. In Gaza, despite the horrific Israeli onslaught, it took 18 days for the death count to reach 500. This happened in Lebanon in about 24 hours. In 2006, the 33-day war that took place between Hezbollah and Israel resulted in 1,100 deaths over 33 days. We've already achieved half of that in just 24 hours. So the numbers are really unprecedented, and you see major panic across the entire country. People don't know where is safe anymore. The Israelis have expanded the areas that they're targeting. They're not limited to some areas in South Lebanon along the border and in the Bekaa. They've really expanded inwards into coastal cities, into mountains in the north. It really feels like nowhere is safe, and people are very much at a loss for what to do and where to go.
And Aya, what about these phone calls and text messages, and also reports of dropping of leaflets on the population by the Israelis? How are people reacting to that, and what indication do they have of even where to go?
So on Monday, the information minister said that around 80,000 people received calls to evacuate. And we tried to look into some of those calls, and there didn't seem to be any pattern for who was receiving these calls. Some people in Beirut received them, some people in the south received them, in the Bekaa. It was really all across the country. So it seemed like a tactic that was more intended to cause fear rather than an actual evacuation. Some residents in South Lebanon did get more specific evacuation orders. But again, under international law, for evacuation orders to mean anything, they have to be effective, meaning that people must have the time to leave and they must have the means to do so. What we saw on Monday was anything but. I mean, the instructions that people got were stay away from Hezbollah targets. Nobody knows. A civilian doesn't know where a Hezbollah target is. So people just fled with the clothes off their back. It took 14, 15 hours for some families to make it from South Lebanon to Beirut. And we were receiving reports that that there were some strikes on near where civilians were gathered to evacuate in traffic jams. We're still looking into those, but if that holds up, then that is also a serious violation.
And I wanted to ask you that Amnesty is calling for an international investigation into the deadly attacks using these exploding portable devices. Could you talk about what you're calling for and why, and why isn't this patently labeled as a terrorist attack?
So under international humanitarian...
The pager and the walkie-talkie attacks were more targeted than the target bombings that they're doing right now. Because why would you have a pager unless you're Hezbollah? Why would you be working on a walkie-talkie unless you're Hezbollah? I mean, everyone in Lebanon is using a pager? Yeah, right.
Law and human rights law, we don't use the term terrorist attacks. For us, attacks are either lawful or unlawful. Our qualification of the pager attacks is if, as is being reported and as US officials and Lebanese officials have said, Israel was behind the attacks, then international humanitarian law applies because these attacks were part of an armed conflict. Under international humanitarian law, it is prohibited to use weapons indiscriminately, which we found that the pager attacks were. The people
the thing is that war's a bitch, and there's going to be collateral damage. This whole idea of Amnesty International trying to, have a more peaceful war, it doesn't work. Just let Israel and Hezbollah go at it. Whoever wins, wins.
Know who was given the pagers with the walkie-talkies, and they did not know who would be around the individuals carrying those pagers and walkie-talkies. Therefore, the attack was
Let's stop playing stupid. They had walkie-talkies and pagers because they're Hezbollah. Now, was there going to be collateral damage? Yes. All war has collateral damage. But let's stop playing stupid. Especially when Hezbollah's leader was telling him to get off of cell phones and smart devices because they were being targeted. Let's stop playing stupid.
For unlawful under international humanitarian law and should be investigated as a war crime. The reason that Amnesty has called for an international investigation on this particular attack is because of the risks of this kind of warfare. It transforms everyday objects like pagers and walkie-talkies into essentially booby traps. And there is an explicit prohibition under international humanitarian law on the use of such booby traps. But we felt that such an attack, although it didn't cause nearly the same number of casualties as Monday's onslaught, did instill some fear and panic into the Lebanese society and is a really dangerous method of warfare to be using more to be using. It was unprecedented, and the involvement goes far beyond just the Israeli military. There are allegations around various shell companies. So we're trying to look into all of the multifaceted aspects of this attack, but we do feel that an international investigation in this case is warranted.
I want to ask you, Ms. Zub, if you consider this a war on Hezbollah or Israel's war on Lebanon?
It's Hezbollah. Come on. That's an easy question.
I mean, in terms of the impact on civilians, it is undeniable.
Yeah,
that
see,
Lebanese
always spin it
civilians
as Israel's bad.
The media coverage of Monday's attacks was Israel strikes Hezbollah targets. However, we've looked at entire neighborhoods that have been flattened, residential towers that have been brought down, people's livelihoods, their shops, their homes, their cars, all in ruins. You mentioned the deaths of the 2 UNHCR staff members. The health minister also mentioned the deaths of 4 medics and paramedics. Ambulances are being hit, medical centers. And the wave of displacement from South Lebanon, the Bekaa, and other areas is now, I think, almost 500,000 people have had to leave their homes. Not all 500,000 people are Hezbollah. So the impact on Lebanese civilians has really been catastrophic.
And the response of the United States, President Biden just gave his last speech at the United Nations as U.S. president. The EU Foreign Policy Chief, Joseph Borrell, has characterized this as almost a full-fledged war. President Biden said too many on each side of the Israeli-Lebanon border remain displaced. Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest, even though a situation has escalated. A diplomatic solution is not possible. He said, is still possible, he said. IMS Jube. At the same time, the U.S. continuing to provide billions of dollars to the U.S. military, to the Israeli military.
Yeah, I mean, there's an obvious hypocrisy there. We've consistently, since October 7, have been calling for the suspension of weapons sales and shipments to Israel. We've continued to call for respect of IHL. We have, in at least one instance, documented a possible war crime that Israel committed in Lebanon using U.S. weapons. So if the U.S. really was serious about
what about Hezbollah and Hamas hiding within the civilian population? What about the arms and the monetary backing of Iran with Hezbollah and Hamas? No, she doesn't say anything about that. See, Israel bad, Muslims good. That's her statement. It's the same logic where Orange Man bad and Harris good. Nothing Orange Man does is good. Nothing. No. Same thing. Everything that Israel's doing must be bad. The same. I would love to hear what Amnesty International is saying about the war crimes from Hamas and Hezbollah.
The region, then they should start by stopping arms and weapons shipments to Israel, and by also supporting judicial criminal proceedings, including at the ICC.
IMS Zub, we want to thank you so much for being with us. Amnesty International's Deputy Director.
Fair and balanced? No. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work, because where else are you going to have great content and great commentary on PNN? Go to my store and get the zeolite. Why? Because we're bombarded by chemtrails, forever chemicals on our clothing, in our food, bad water, packaged food products, poisoning our immune system and our endocrine system. Take zeolite, it's a molecule that's negative. It will attach to positively charged heavy metals, toxins, chemicals. It will bind and it'll allow you to urinate out those toxins and heavy metals in about 6 to 8 hours. All right. You can take the zeolite every day, take a few drops underneath your tongue and drink it with filtered water. You can take it all year round, every day, or some people, what they do is they take a few drops underneath their tongue and they use the whole bottle once a year or maybe twice a year. All right. But it's important to detoxify your body because we're bombarded by a lot of chemicals, chemtrails, forever chemicals, heavy metals in our water and our food. And you want to filter your water to get those toxins out of your water. And you want to eat better foods. Stay away from those processed foods because they're not healthy. They're not healthy at all. And detoxify your body on a regular basis. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take zeolite. Take a few drops underneath your tongue, swallow with filtered water, and detoxify your body. Get those heavy metals out, get those toxins and chemicals out. Please go to the store and get the zeolite. Now, I also have C60. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. All right. I have it in coconut oil, MCT coconut oil. I have it in extra virgin olive oil. And I also have it in avocado oil. All right. You can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration on my store. And how this works is that this molecule, the C60, is a carbon, it's 60 carbons attached, and it looks kind of like a soccer ball. All right. And it will soak up those free radicals at a much higher rate than, let's say, your typical antioxidant. In addition, this is synergistic with some of the other antioxidants like resveratrol and the ubiquinol, and vitamin C, and some of these other antioxidants. All right, that I've talked about throughout this broadcast. So you take this every day, take a teaspoon of it a day. They'll soak up those free radicals. It's very potent, but it's synergistic with the other vectors, antioxidants like NAC, which brings up your glutathione levels, and it's an antioxidant through the glutathione pathway. But this is important to take on a daily basis. All right, and it's synergistic with the other antioxidants. That's good because you want to soak up those antioxidants as much as you can. All right. Now, you should take this on an empty stomach for better absorption. Take a teaspoon of it a day. If you work out, take it before your workout because you will recover quicker. Your recovery time is reduced. All right, when you take C60 when you work out. And what will happen is that your energy levels will start to increase. You're improving the mitochondrial health in your cells. You're slowing down that aging process of oxidation, right? Because you're soaking up those free radicals. And what will happen is that you're going to have healthier cells and healthier tissue. So it'll perform, those tissues will perform better and those organs will perform better over time. That means your immune system is going to improve. That means your memory is going to improve. Why? Because your neurons need a lot of mitochondria, healthy mitochondria. So when you take C60, you're improving your mitochondrial health. It's soaking up those free radicals. And that way you can produce those neurotransmitters and keep those neuron connections good and well established. So you have good memory and you're thinking quickly. So this is also synergistic with the neuroprotection that you're going to get from ubiquinol and NAD+. So it's synergistic with the stack. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take the C60. I take this every day. All right. It is a major pillar of my anti-aging protocol. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, Get the 2 ounce, the 4 ounce, or the 8 ounce configuration in either extra virgin olive oil, MCT coconut oil, or the avocado oil. It's in an oil because the C60 is lipid soluble, right? It's suspended in the oil, so for better absorption. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. That's the end of my broadcast. Please help support my work by sharing the links. Ask your social media to follow me so I can reach a larger audience, so I can talk about geopolitical events, how the economy is doing, and how to improve your health. You can take charge of your health. You can go down a path where you're getting your body the healthiest that it can by following my advice, taking the supplements, doing a little bit of resistance training, doing a little bit of cardiovascular fitness, stretching, balance exercises moderately, do some walking, challenge your brain by reading and writing, talking to people in the real world, proper sleep, proper diet. When you do these things, you're going to radically change your health. It is in your power to improve your health. Majority of the diseases in the United States, the majority of, in terms of the percentage of the population, majority of these diseases are lifestyle diseases. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Now, yes, there are people that may have a predisposition to a certain type of disease because of genetics or whatever, but a big part of the population can reverse their disease path by just changing their lifestyle. And you can radically change your health and the amount of money that you're spending in healthcare. The answer to healthcare, a big part of it, is people need to change their lifestyle and get healthier. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Take the supplements that I take every day to slow down the aging process, to boost up the immune system, to have more vitality, and enjoy your life the best that you can. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.